How are you doing, lady? Good.
At this time, the mayor will call to order the regular city council meeting for 7 p.m. Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020, in the city council chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. As always, we begin our meeting and we're all have our face mask on, but if you're social distancing, if you're up here at the dais, then if you want to remove your mask at this time, you may do so. Before we get started, I did have a couple of comments that I wanted to make as it regards to COVID-19 for our citizens here in Terrell. One of the things that we can do is continue to practice social distancing. We can wear our mask when we're in and out about within the city, and always remember to wash your hands for 20 seconds or more to help fight this COVID-19. We also want to observe all of the CDC guidelines. We want to stay ahead of the curve as we move forward through the Thanksgiving holiday season for the city of Terrell and also the Christmas holiday season. Although numbers are up, and they are slightly for the city and for the county and trending towards upwards for the state, we do want to do our part as a city to do the minimum, have the minimum effect as these numbers continue to come through. We want to thank you for your part to ensure our families are safe, and we want to encourage our Terrell businesses that they can remain open, and we do our part through the holiday season as citizens. At this time, we'll have Grady Simpson do invocation. If you would please stand.
Can you bow our heads, please? Our Heavenly Father, we come giving much gratitude and appreciation for your guidance and your wisdom. Continue to pray for your protection. Continue to pray for the city of Terrell, and you keep us safe, guide us and lead us to higher levels of understanding. And unify us in that understanding so that we may be one city that will be better for tomorrow than yesterday. All this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
The next item on the agenda is for the mayor and the council community recognition events. We have a couple of different groups that we would like to recognize. We have with us today from the Terrell ISD School District, Dr. Georgianne Warnock. Thank you for being with us. She's our TISD superintendent. We also have Olivia Rice, who is the director of communications for the school district and marketing. Thank you for being with us, Olivia. We also have 3 students, correct, that we are going to recognize for their efforts in cleaning up Ben Gill Park. It's so important that we have our young citizens that participate in city government and helping do your part in helping the city maintain its beautification process. We have Carla and Denise Landa. If you would please come forward. Deanna Contreras, is that right? And we also have with us our chairman of the park board, Matt Malone. If you would come forward, Matt, and just kind of brief us on what these 3 individuals did and what we're recognizing them for.
Okay, so they did what is very awesome. They took it upon themselves to help clean Ben Gill Park. It is so important, and we thank you very much for citizens to take ownership in our community, take ownership in our park. We have great staff, but even if they skip a day, to have somebody be able to just go and pick up trash, take it right in our park, it's great. When we saw this, it was just amazing. We just really can't thank you enough. And what you did was great. I want you to keep doing it. whatever drove you to do it, it doesn't matter, keep doing it. It's awesome. Tell your friends, tell them to tell their friends. It's just great. So we can't thank them enough for this, and I appreciate y'all having them in front of us today. As high school students, I know you're probably somewhat glad you get to have a mask, because it's always a little awkward to stand in front of everybody. It is, it's awesome. You do great. This is what community and civics is all about, and you're learning a very valuable lesson. So hopefully you'll get some extra credit at school. We'll figure out
Yeah, you know what, it makes me proud as mayor to have young students come forward and help. And I'm sensing that they weren't asked to do it, that they just did it. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I mean, it's just one of those, you notice somebody picking up trash and cleaning the park, and it's like, wow, you know,
That's leadership.
it is, it's leadership, it's, you know, you're leaders in your grade, you're leaders at the school, and it's great.
Well, very proud of you young ladies. What we're going to do now is we're going to give you a presentation. We're going to present you with some cookies. Council, if you would like to come forward, please, and we'll take a photo. Mask up.
I guess I didn't mask, or it'd be a very hard photo to get if we had to stand too far apart.
Y'all will come in front of the podium here.
That's a good bit.
We'll be in the back. I think we're
Are y'all interested at all? See council members maybe at some point. We're doing the right thing.
That's not that. But you have to make that.
We have our high school principal and superintendent here. And that tells you something too about how much it's appreciated. You know, they work all week long, and they come up here late on a Tuesday after being late last night meetings. And it's really big. It's very much appreciated. Took my tie off already.
One picture right here. I put my nap last night. The rest of y'all had on.
In the interest of social distancing, girls, if y'all wanted to leave too, so you didn't have to sit through this whole meeting.
I'd leave too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nobody can hear otherwise.
So before y'all leave, again, thank you, but it says a lot about our school district and the type of young men and women that we're producing in the city of Terrell. So I want to thank Georgianne, the principal, anyone else that has anything to do with the school district. Thank you for teaching these kids how to get involved and be involved, and we look for great things for you three, from you three. Before we move forward, I do want to mention to the council that we are going to have a meeting Thursday, and we're going to be at
The Excel.
Excel Center at 6 p.m. Make sure you have that down on your calendar. And again, it's to work with the partners that are involved with the community and with the city. Our next group that we're going to recognize is Southwestern Christian College, the Kaufman and Terrell alumni basketball game organizers. We have Dwight Gentry with us. We have Crystal Baker with us. We have Devonna Thomas with us, I believe. If y'all would come forward. I was ready for my applause. Oh, yeah. So I was deeply honored to be invited to the game, which was a great game to watch from beginning to end. It looked like Terrell in the beginning was going to run away with this thing, and I was hoping that we would get 100 points, right, and blow Kaufman out. And the mayor of Kaufman, Mayor Jordan, and I will frequently have friendly little wagers on different things that happen within Kaufman and within Terrell. So I did rub this in a little bit on him, Dwight, and I appreciate that. again, it was an effort to bring communities together, right? And it was so beautiful to see on Southwestern Christian College's campus, the support that y'all were able to get for the game and bring the community together. That's always a good thing for this city. And again, I was honored to ask to be there. If you'd like to say anything, please do so at this time, and then we'll take a photo. Grady, is there anything new? And this happened in your district, right?
Yeah, this happened in my
All right, so
district.
say something.
And I'm just gonna tell you right now, when I was with Dr. Barnard at the game Friday night, and I saw our Tigers get beat, that busted my heart. But I saw you guys play Kaufman, and I told the mayor, I said, Mayor, you have to present the trophy to Kaufman. I just don't know what I'm gonna do. But I tell you, this game went down to the wire, and I was up on pins and needles the whole time. And you guys won it.
Yeah.
So we was able to get our revenge back out on the run. So thanks to our senior Terrell Tigers.
I was a little disappointed that they didn't ask the mayor to play. I was just there to present, right? I could shoot 3 points. I can get you some points on them. But again, if you'd like to say something, please speak into the mic.
I'll say something. It meant so much for me to see you guys, that everybody involved, that everybody showed up. I know I just wanted to do something that has never been done in Terrell, and I know nobody had a basketball game. Or bring a community like that and bring the mayor or the city council members in. So it was big for not only me, but everybody to see that you guys actually did show up. So much respect on that. And next time.
I'm about to put on the well, you might invite me to practice first.
Tryouts.
Yes, I'd also like to say, Vonna Thomas and Ms. Baker, I'd definitely like to recognize them. They're always active in our community. I know that Vonna is doing something all the time, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, you know what, we always talk about here from the mayor and the council about getting the community involved, right? And y'all stepped up. You had a great program. I know it was a lot of time and effort to get everything together and get the teams together and make sure that the venue was okay. As a matter of fact, they had so many folks there that they had to turn them away. And we're gonna have to find a bigger venue for you moving forward. Again, COVID-19 had a lot to do with it and limiting who and couldn't come in, but everybody there had their face mask on. And I was very proud of how you handled everything. So good. So we're going to take a moment and do a presentation and take a photo. Are we good? Everybody good? Everybody smiling?
Make sure to get Charles' good side.
Let's have one.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is to adopt the minutes. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the city council meeting minutes from November the 3rd.
We have a motion from Mirani Velasquez, District 3. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item numbers 5.1 is let's see now, we're on item number 6, which is to hear remarks from visitors. Are there anybody, is there anyone?
I don't have any.
We don't have anybody.
Our next item on the agenda is election business, which is 7.1, discuss and consider resolution number 1000, a resolution accepting the election returns as certified by the Kaufman County election official and declaring the results of the election held on November the 3rd, 2020 in Terrell, Texas, for the purpose of electing city council members for District 3 and District 5 of the city of Terrell, Texas, to serve one three-year term. Resolution number 1000. Mr. Sims, or is this Don?
Or do you want to do it? Okay. Resolution 1000 accepts the election returns as certified and canvassed by Kaufman County. There were a total of 1,254 ballots cast for City Council District Number 3. As no candidate received 51% of the vote, a special election will be called. In the District 5 race, Sandra Wilson withdrew her candidacy at the last moment, and Tim Royce received 1,439 votes. Therefore, he is declared to be duly elected to the office of City Council District Number 5.
So on the special election, there's no date set yet?
That's the next resolution,
Okay,
yes.
all right. So on 1000, on the resolution, Mary Gail, do we swear him in? Is that?
Yes.
Just the council approval resolution.
Okay. So council, do you have any questions?
Well, District 3 is in a runoff,
Yes.
Yes.
but, technically, we need to make sure that you only need 50% plus one. And it wasn't quite 50% .1, was it?
No.
And we're sure about that, certified?
Yes.
Don, I do have a question. So 3 years from now, will the election date be in May of 2023, or because of this action, will it be in November of 23?
No, it will be in May of 2023.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a good question.
Okay, this is a discuss and consider item, resolution 1000. Do we have a motion?
Mayor, make a motion to approve resolution number 1000 as presented.
Have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Is there a second? Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem, District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 7.2 is discuss and consider resolution number 1001, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, ordering a special election for the election of City Council Member District Number 3. Such election to be held on Tuesday, December the 15th of 2020. This will be handled by our City Secretary, Don Staub.
Mayor, if I could go back to item 7.1,
Yes.
and our city attorney, Mary Gail Ramsey, will swear in Tim Royce, Council
Okay.
District 5.
Yeah, we probably need to do that.
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead, Tim.
You're still getting swore out, aren't you?
If you will, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Tim Roy,
I, Tim Royce,
do solemnly
do
swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office of council member
the duties of the office of council member
for District Number
for
5
District Number 5
of the City of Terrell,
of the City of Terrell,
State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United
and
States
the laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state
and the charter
and the charter
and the ordinances of this city.
and the ordinances of the city.
And I further solemnly swear
And I further solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid,
paid,
offered,
offered,
or promised to
or
pay,
promised to pay,
contributed,
contributed,
nor promised to contribute
or promised to contribute
any money or valuable thing,
any money or valuable thing,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
as a reward
as a reward
for the giving or withholding
for the giving or withholding
of vote
votes
at the election of which I was elected,
at the election of which I was elected,
or if the to secure my appointment.
or to secure my appointment.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Yes, sir.
Awesome. I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in.
Thank you, Mary Gail, legal, and another term. Is this your second or third?
Second term.
Okay, wonderful. Congratulations to Tim Royce, representing District 5. He's always been the one that speaks well for his district, and is always on top of things when it comes to District 5, and we certainly appreciate that from the mayor and the rest of the council.
Thank you.
Item number 8.1, what, we at 7.2?
7.2.
7.2 is discuss and consider Resolution 1001, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, ordering a special election for the election of the City Council Member District Number 3. Such election to be held on Tuesday, December the 15th, 2020. City Secretary Don Stahl.
Mayor and Council, Resolution 1001 calls a special election for the election of Council Member District Number 3. The candidates are Jonathan Preston and Mayrani Velasquez. The election will be held on December 15th. Early voting will begin on November 30th and goes through December 11th, and it will be held at the Terrell Sub Courthouse. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
This is a discuss and consider, so does anybody have any questions or comments for Don? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mayor, make a motion that we approve resolution number 1001.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem, District 2. Is there a second?
Mayor, I second.
We have a second from Mayrani Velasquez, District 3. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 8.1 is discuss and consider airport board reappointments. That's Glenn Caldwell.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Council, Ms. Sarah Hadley, Harold Wilson, and Pete Carroll were all appointed to their first term to the airport board in October of 2018. The first term expired October 31st of 2020. They have expressed their desire to continue forward with their second term, and I'll let council take action.
The airport board falls under my jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
So I, at this time, would like to take the recommendation of our city staff and move forward with those nominations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so that is a consider item. Is there a motion from someone?
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we reappoint the three, would you read their names off again, Mr. Collins?
Sarah Hadley, Harold Wilson, Pete Carroll.
Okay, so we have a motion from Charles Whitaker. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, Deputy Mayor, District 5, I'm sorry.
Been a long now.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 8.2 is discuss and consider planning and zoning board appointment. This is City Manager Mike Sims.
Mayor and Council, we've talked a couple of different times recently about our Planning and Zoning Board. Our Planning and Zoning Board does have Ms. Vicki Anderson on it. She did term out with her in August on her third and final term, so that's a replacement that needs to get made. We also have Carolyn Wimberly, who recently completed her first term. She just needs to be reappointed. So those are the two items that are pending with our planning and zoning. If you take a look at applicants, you can see we do have a few applicants. I won't go through all of them, but those are there for your review. And we will pass this over to the council member responsible, which is Mayrani Velasquez.
All right, Councilwoman Velasquez, this follows under your board responsibilities. What would you like to do?
Mayor, at this time, I'd like to move forward only with the board member replacement for Ms. Vicki Anderson, who turned out. Mayor, I make a motion to appoint Jorge Vargas to the Planning and Zoning Board.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velazquez, District 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 8.3 is to discuss Park Board member appointment. This is Public Works Director Lynn Caldwell.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Ms. Dawes, William Dawes, was appointed August 7th of 2018. Her term has termed out. I believe we discussed this item back on November 3rd meeting, so we'd like to bring this back to you for action. We have some applicants that you all have considered and probably vetted already. I'd like to bring this back to you on December the 8th, so that you can take action, if that's acceptable to council.
Is this not a consider tonight?
No, this is just a discussed this time.
Okay. Well,
But
that
we
being
need
said,
your input.
hey, we're ready to make action on December the 8th.
Just
So
Whose committee is that?
that is Tim Royce. So Tim, if you would, get with Glenn and then have a recommendation for us on December the 8th.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Also, while we're talking about it, our December schedule, we're probably going to have just the December 8th? Or we got anything?
We're
ready?
trying very hard to only have a December 8th meeting, and you'll have to bear with me that we're still going to hold that December 1st date to tackle maybe one specialty item.
Item number 9 is COVID-19 business. This is going to be handled by, it's a discuss COVID-19 update. This will be handled by Emergency Management Coordinator Dustin Connor. And as I said in the beginning, let's do our best to try to minimize any uptick that we have within the city.
So
Dustin,
Mayor,
are you there?
Mayor, while Dustin is getting on, I'll tell you, we have both Dr. Bashir on the line with us. He's going to give us an update, and also Dustin will be giving us an update. Dustin, why don't you give us a little intro and then pass it over to the doctor?
So I was going to let Dr. Brazier do the actual update of cases and stuff like that in the county, just because he has the newest data. But Dr. Brazier, Mr. Sims and I met earlier, I guess late last week, just kind of about where we are and what to expect going forward. And I'll let Dr. Brazier kind of talk on all that stuff, and then I'll share what we're doing here in the city to help mitigate all of this.
Dr. Bashir, if you...
Thanks, Dustin. Mayor and Council community, thank you so much for having me tonight. I wish it was under better circumstances. We certainly do have a diversity of the leaders in the area, certainly across the state. And that's really what the numbers are looking like in Kaufman County right now. So I just wanted to come up with you guys and talk to you a little bit about them. And then maybe just kind of get another brief overview and answer any questions that you may have. With help, I think if I can look through some of the numbers, if I can share my computer screen. So I'm not sure if that's possible for me to do. Let me know if that can be done.
We're going to have the city secretary give your computer permission to take the screen.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. And I'm seeing the website in front of me. So the way that I keep track of our county numbers, specifically I get an email every day from the Department of State Health Services. But most of that data is brought up online within about 24 to 48 hours after I get it. So this is the website that you can go to if you don't have the insider knowledge that I get. So if you go here, the different numbers that you can look at, and then under this tab here, Texas case counts, if you click on that, And just to save time, we went ahead and took some pictures of these. So here's our, this first page will come up to be the daily tests, which just shows you the number of tests that are being administered in the state. And the really second thing is, I think one of the biggest questions about some of the numbers going up is there's this concern that maybe the reason that the numbers are up is simply because of increased testing. So you can kind of see the curve of testing in the next photo even curve. There's a few times where there's new tests per day, but the curve is not nearly as dramatic as some of the next pictures I can show you. And so if you keep in mind the picture of this curve as compared to the picture of these curves, so this here, these are the two peaks of the rises in cases throughout Texas. So if you remember, the slope on the cases on the test being done was nice and even as compared to this. So the new cases that we're seeing are real cases, and the other evidence of that we see, of course, is the hospital data, which is one of the things I'm most concerned about here in Kaufman. Back in the summer, when you can see this peak here of cases, hospitals did not have very many admissions at all. The hospital in Kaufman didn't have very many admissions. But as of this morning, we actually have 7 COVID patients, which is about 30% of their current admission status. So that means 30% of the patients in the Kaufman Hospital actually have COVID. 3 of those are in the ICU. One gentleman in his 40s, another gentleman in his 60s, and a lady in her 80s currently in the ICU here in Kaufman with COVID. And so I think that the realness and the actual impact to our little hospital is just a nice little picture of kind of what's been going on here lately. Here's a picture of the Texas hospital curve. So if you'll see, this is open in May. So in Texas, when the peak of cases was kind of blowing through in some of the regions like New York City, we did not have a large increase in cases. If you look right back here, less than 2,000 people in the entire state had COVID in the hospital. But then over the summer, when we had the peak of cases in July and August, we had over 10,000 patients in the hospital. And if you recall from the picture I just had up a minute or two ago about the cases, that matches up with where the cases were only a few weeks later. So that's the other reason that we can tell that the case counts are real and they actually show true positive cases because there's more people in the hospital. So if you track forward all the way to here, this is early November, we're already up to 7,839 cases, which is again getting close to that same peak that we had in the summer. And we still have not hit our peak of cases. Again, remember the delay that there is in the number of cases that we get, followed by number of hospitalizations. So this is where we are now in hospitalizations. And then the last graph that I want to show you is here, this picture again. So here is the case count graph that I showed you earlier. This one is the death count. So again, tracks along perfectly with the case count. It's just a few weeks later. So the case count peak started to go up in kind of early June, and the death counts started going up in early July. So about 4 or 5 weeks, you see this kind of curve starting to go up. And as you notice, we're kind of tracking along with a little bit of a plateau here on deaths. And this is basically October here. But see the curve starting to head up here tells us that we're about to start seeing the matching of this curve here in deaths. So it's very likely, if not easily predictable, that we'll be up here in deaths in the state of Texas just over the next few weeks. So if you want to watch this happen, just to kind of confirm for yourself that cases equals deaths, this is the page to watch. And so this is a snapshot of the page that I found that I was showing earlier on the DSHS website, which is here on the dashboard. So navigating that is a little bit cumbersome. I wish it was easy and all in one page. This is just kind of the opening page that they show you when you bring up the dashboard. You just have to kind of scroll along here to find the different things that you're looking for. You have to click down here just to see the test and hospital data. My main purpose is to just kind of translate difficult concepts to both my patients and what's always been the county health authority and the city health authority. But kind of just, my job is still translation. I'm still just a translator. And so my job is to take kind of these things that are lots of numbers and lots of facts and try to break them down as easy as I can and just try to help you guys kind of see what's going on. One of the most common questions that I still get that I wanted to also mention is there's still a concern or at least a question that the disease itself might be similar to flu. Just to get some perspective on that, the reason that we already notice is much worse than flu. A very bad year in Texas where flu deaths is approximately 9,000. We had a little over 9,000 patients die from influenza back in the 2017-2018 flu season. So that's one of our issues. A typical flu season in Texas kills about 7,000, maybe 7,500 at the most. So if you look out here, we're already getting close to 20,000 fatalities, and that's basically since April. We really didn't start seeing a lot of deaths in Texas until about April. So just in the last 6 months, we had 20,000 deaths, pushing 20,000 deaths. So at least 2 to 3 times the number of fatalities, and we are nowhere near the end of this. We're actually about to see the darkest and worst days of this pandemic, where the number of fatalities have been closer to the 20 to 30 per day range. Look, if you look here, it says yesterday or today was reported 117 deaths just in the last 24 hours. So as that number goes up, this number will much more dramatically go up, and it shouldn't be surprising at all if just in Texas alone we have 25 to 30,000 deaths before we get both on to January or so. That'd just be a tragic, but also a pretty easily predictable number that we should see based on the graphs that I was showing you guys. So I know that's a whole lot to hear, and that's hopefully a little bit sobering. I do want to say, as far as the different governmental bodies that I've kind of watched look at this virus and look at what can be done and try to approach this from a fact-based perspective, I very much want to say that I appreciate Mayor Pomona, the council, Mr. Sims, and especially Dustin Conley for just the way that you has responded to the things that I've told you. I feel like I've been heard, and I don't think that's a refreshing thing in this day and age, and I feel like the way that, for instance, even how you open the meeting, discussing the different COVID parameters, the way that you encourage your citizens to wear masks, it should be common sense that leaders stand up and make statements like that and back up the scientific data. I don't know why it's not so common, but that is the most obvious way that you can get compliance, you can get buy-in from your citizens, is to have your leaders take that buy-in and take it seriously. So the way that you guys are responding has been admirable, and I appreciate it very much. And I'm very confident that just kind of knowing the situation in Kaufman County and in the state of Texas, that this board, this council, is going to make some changes and is going to keep Terrell at least in a much more protected and safe environment. So I very much appreciate all that. I want to let you know I'm here for questions, I'm here for support, and basically I'm here to help translate things. So please ask questions now, or feel free to email me or talk to Dustin here. I talk very frequently now, so just please let me know if there's anything else that I can add or kind of get advice on. I'll turn it over to you, but I'm not back to Dustin, but I don't want to run off yet. If y'all have other questions about vaccines that are coming out, I mean, there's lots of news that's out there. There's lots of advice about Thanksgiving and social gatherings, that type of thing. I'd be more than happy to speak on that, but I don't want to take up any of the time of what you guys need to do. Go ahead, Dustin.
Doctor, can I just get us a couple of data checks here so that everybody's clear, and maybe myself, I need to be clear. I'm reading today's number of cases either right at or just above the peak number of cases we had in July. Would you say I'm reading that right, that today was, if not the record day in Texas, pretty darn close to the record day in Texas?
Yes, sir, that's correct. I remember noticing that when I was looking at those pictures. I don't have the exact numbers to look at, but if you just take your eye and look at those two numbers, what you're talking about is on this page, right? Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's correct. So right about there, there's probably 10,826. And in fact, I think the high, I went back and looked at this high number, this peak right up there. I think it was about 10,700 and something. So I think we may have actually broken the record with that number of cases that are reported.
So it's probably a good point for folks to think back to July, precautions they were making in July, and efforts they were making in July to try to keep themselves and their workplaces safe. It's good to remind yourself that that level of effort really did turn into a better August and a better September. So I think there's some hope that you can take. That, you know, a lot of folks felt like they were very vigilant and very locked down in July, and if you can kind of go back to that level of effort that we all had in July, I think that'd be a very good thing for us. The other thing I'm going to mention, and I'm sure that you don't have access to this data on your fingertips, but I'm going to tell you that I glanced over this earlier today. Kaufman County back in July was not running as many active cases as we're showing today, or at least that's the data I was able to access. So today, the data tells me we've got 189 active cases in Kaufman County. And I think one of the questions is always, well, isn't this somewhere else in Texas? Isn't it somewhere else in Texas? Texas is a big state. I don't have to worry about that. It does seem like the high number of cases in the county is very notable in comparison to July and the number of cases we had in the county back in July. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. And just to give you a sneak peek, I haven't got the numbers for today, so it'll be probably updated on the website tomorrow. We're actually up at 210 active cases in Kaufman County. And it wasn't really known as of yesterday, but they just haven't updated the website. So that'll be tomorrow, you'll see that. Two things I want to say about that. One of them is the number of active cases is specifically the number of what we call PCR-based tests. Those are typically the ones that come back within a day or two. They're the ones that we get on the swabs from when the state comes around and goes out to the municipal airport. Those are the PCR-based swabs. And a lot of the MVPs, a lot of the ERs, hospitals, those are the swabs that we use there. Some of you citizens, some of you constituents may know of a swab that's called an antigen swab. It's faster. I have them in my office, and it is usually just a lot more convenient because you can get an answer. Because it is a higher false negative rate, the state has decided to not call those active confirmed cases. So even if they test positive, they're not considered in this number, this 189. And so more recently, I've really discovered and decided that this is a vast underrepresentation of the active cases. Because even though they don't consider them confirmed, the good thing about the rapid tests is that when they show positive, they are true positives. They are just extremely accurate if they show positive. They have what's called a very high sensitivity rating, so that just means that the number of false positives that you get on those real rapid tests is extremely rare, and so they can be trusted. So my whole point on the diatribe is to say that just because these numbers look like they're comparable, maybe just a little bit higher than the summer, we did not have as much rapid testing back in the summer. And so, for instance, I think right now, as of October, there's 210 confirmed active. That's going to probably show up on this page tomorrow. There's also 89 that they call probable that are mostly those antigen tests. So really, add those together, we have about 249 positive tests in the Kaufman County as of today, but I would consider active, but I would call active for those purposes. So these numbers are going to be still underrepresenting the push, the actual cases that are in our area. The other way to look at these numbers, and I know I'm getting into lots of numbers here, so this may just kind of go in one way or the other, but the thing to remember is the ways that we call active are generally those cases that are very new within the last 10 days. And so the way that you can look at these numbers, if you want to, is to just divide these numbers by 10, and you can see that roughly we've had 18 or 19 brand new cases per day over the last 10 days. And so that, when you compare it to our population, the population of Kaufman County is roughly 130,000. Then you'll get an idea of how many new cases per 100,000, which is generally just, it's an epidemiologic measure. It's important to physicians and public health professionals, because when you have less than 5 cases per 100,000, then you would consider that a controlled pandemic. And then when you get all the way up to 20 or 25 cases per 100,000, that's when you start to approach widespread. That's where we get those colors. I guess you've seen the nationwide maps that show yellow or orange or red colors. That's where they get those numbers from, is how many new cases per 100,000 per day. So just Kaufman County is in what we would call the orange range, and if we get over 250 active, then that'd be approximately 22 to 25 per 100,000. Now we're pushing the red range just for our county. So I hope I didn't limit that too much for you guys, but it's just kind of how we use those numbers and how we estimate what's coming down the pipe. That's kind of what public health is all about, is understanding what's about to happen, measuring what's going on right now, but also predicting for our hospitals, predicting for our supply chains, predicting for the medicines we need, the staffing we need at our hospitals. That's why we need to know these numbers, and that's why we trust these numbers, is because of the results.
So, Dr. Bashir, I have a question briefly on the fatalities and the deaths.
Yes, sir.
When they say that they died of COVID, was it complications of COVID? Was it only COVID, or did they have other issues and COVID just happens to be one of them, and then that's where they put the death?
That's a good question. There's been a lot of misunderstanding about that over the years. An infectious disease is fairly unique in that when it attacks the body and becomes, or causes different effects in the body, it rapidly accelerates anything else that's going on in that body. So anytime you've ever heard of anyone dying from influenza, they almost always will have at least 1 or 2, if not more, secondary conditions. There's always some rare cases where just all they have is influenza, or all they have is that one respiratory infection that just overwhelmed their body and they weren't able to get it treated in time. So that's possible, but almost always, all of the flu deaths that we've ever counted or caused, or said were caused by flu, have had those underlying conditions. So the question of whether it's caused by COVID or is just happen to have COVID at the same time, that's never been a question that a medical person has ever asked, because it's not something you separate out. It's because of that infection, that's what accelerated their death.
Okay.
A pretty easy way to look at it is if someone has metastatic lung cancer and chooses to go home in hospice, and then on their way home on hospice, they're killed in a car accident, it would be silly to say that the lung cancer is what caused their death, even though that was obviously the most obvious medical condition they had. They would still be counted as a motor vehicle accident death. And of course it should be, because it accelerated the death, even though the death might have been in the weeks and months to come. And it doesn't make any sense at all to even question it. And so the idea that has been brought forth by different political leaders to say that maybe doctors or hospitals are overdiagnosing just doesn't make sense to us, because you could have congestive heart failure, you could have a heart attack recently. Those things can be dangerous, and those things certainly cause tons and tons of deaths in our community. But they don't accelerate the death in any way, shape, or form the same way COVID does. The way that this infection specifically attacks the body, it attacks the blood vessels, it attacks the GI tract, the kidneys, their foreign particles. in the vein itself, or an autopsy. It overruns the immune system and creates such a dramatic response that it often causes blood clots just because of the different cells that are trying to come in and combat the different virus pathogens that are in there. It's very unique in how it does that. And so someone with a COVID infection, regardless of their current health, is definitely going to be affected, and any kind of death or any kind of good outcome that they have is rapidly accelerated by COVID. And so it's just not accurate to try to choose those out and say what was the exact last thing that was happening in the body. It doesn't medically make sense to even look at it that way.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Dustin, are you on?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Did you have anything you wanted to add? And then we'll do some.
I just wanted to add what's happening around town with testing. We've set up static testing sites that will be every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the municipal airport from now until at least the end of the year. And then there are 3 rotating sites in Kaufman County that are through the rest of the week. Maybank, Cranmore, and Kaufman. GoGetTested.com is the website to go to. It's the best place to find when and how to get tests. And then we're circling back around, meeting with our long-term care facilities and our senior centers to make sure that they have the support that they need so that we can keep this out of there.
Okay. Good.
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to add, and maybe it's an encouragement to Dustin and Mr. Sims. I've had a few phone calls this week that says, hey, what are the numbers in Kaufman County? What are the numbers in Terrell? And of course, they can dive into Dr. Brashear's deep map here, but some of these people are technically challenged. So I really would like the city to think about publishing once or twice a week, whether it's the city of Terrell or under the purview of emergency management. I think we should publish the local information and get it out there. That way, when you turn on CNN, it's not a great representation of Terrell, Texas. Right. So, pandemic fatigue is here, but I think we need to share our local information with locals.
Councilman, I think we can do that.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Mr. Dustin.
Yes. Go ahead.
Dustin still on?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Greg Simpson, I was wanting just to get some clarification on some days out there for, you say Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every week from now to the end of the year, with the exception of Thanksgiving Day.
Thank you, sir.
So we're going to put that on the city's web or Facebook site. It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And how you get an appointment is you go to the website, go to gogettested.com is where you want to go, and then you can get an appointment, and they'll tell you what time to be there at the Terrell Municipal Airport. My understanding is that test is free for citizens. Is it for the citizens of Terrell?
Yes, sir.
So it's a good way to be tested. And we thank everybody's efforts in getting that to the city of Terrell. Anyone else?
Dr. Brashear and Dustin, my 8 to 5 job is at a children's hospital in Dallas, and I think we're at a point there where we just don't have enough beds for kiddos that are needing to come in. I think we took maybe about 9 kiddos from El Paso, and that's all we were able to take here recently. What about our adult hospitals, or just in general, the outlook on hospitals and the number of beds, and kind of comparing that with the statistics that you provided, where we're kind of inferring, right, what's going to happen, that we're going to continue to see an increase in cases, and that meaning fatalities, and how the number of available beds or lack of beds we have plays a part in that.
That's a great question, and knowing the exact number of beds is a little bit difficult because the way that beds are counted is really two ways. One is the beds available, just the physical room that put people, but the other way that the hospital can report its capacity is much more reliant on staffing. And because of the COVID pandemic, and just because people need to be in quarantine and hospital staff workers get infected, there's lots of times where somebody has they're not able, just because they have an actual physical space to put a patient, they don't have staff to come with them. So those numbers are a moving target, to say the least. I did take a picture of the current Point of Service Area E, so that's us. That's available on the dashboard. Let me pull up the picture so I can show you. This is from earlier today. So this Point of Service Area E is the total number of beds, 16,000. They're saying that they've got about 1,700 available. So that's roughly 80-something% full at this point. Available ICU beds. So in the entire campus, so that's in all of UFW, there's 126 ICU beds. If you look at F and G, so the entire Northeast Texas area, I think that's 11 and that's 29. So there's roughly 160-something ICU beds available as of this printing of this picture. That's not a lot. And so your concerns are absolutely valid. There's not an easy, quick way for you to just put to a bar and you can watch it change day to day. You really just kind of have to add these numbers together each day and watch how the numbers have gone up. And I can tell you I've been watching these numbers over the last few months. So this Trauma Service Area E shows that we have 2,238 in the hospital right now with COVID. As recently as early October, maybe late September, that number is about 600. So we probably quadrupled in hospital numbers. And again, you can follow that based on that previous picture I showed you. I'm just looking at the total number of patients. They're very easy to tell you that. I know of at least one hospital system, and during their board meeting last week, they said that if the code continues the way it's going, they fully expect to be out of ICU beds in their system. It's just one of the big systems in DFW. They expect to be completely out of ICU beds by the end of November. So just a few weeks from now. Based on these numbers, based on these trajectories, if nothing changes, in other words, that very well could happen. They are preparing for that to happen. And so they're taking the steps now to hopefully avoid that scenario. But I can tell you it's not looking good.
So what, because we do have, of course, the Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's holiday with the data and the projections we have available now, what recommendations are the CDC and you and Dustin recommending at this time to help do our part?
That's a great question too, and that's exactly what we have in front of us is the public measures that we can take. And so as individuals and as small businesses and just in whatever capacity we have, our churches, anywhere that we have the ability to go and be in a public setting with other people, if we can choose not to do that, then we're going to help these numbers. And so that's hard for me to say it's a blanket statement. Everyone can't just make that decision each time. Understand that some people actively choose not to, some people just physically can't because of different responsibilities they may have. But this is the time to cut way back. My family is not going to go see my extended family at this year at all. We're going to have kind of a Zoom meeting that afternoon with my brother and his family, and my sister and her kids, and my mom and dad. And then the in-laws will probably do that same thing a few hours later on another Zoom call. And they just make them go. When we feel with kind of family buddies, is kind of the way I describe it. It's a little bit misleading because sometimes they think, well, this person is familiar to me and I know this person before to me, but it's a familiar face and therefore I kind of let them invite them. Those are the types of decisions that we kind of have to not make anymore. We can't go to these small groups where it's just very quickly as they kind of get together and hang out in the backyard. it's just too difficult for us to maintain a bit of distancing and really strict masking and kids and boys get together. It's just too hard to do. And so that's why it's just not as effective. And that's where a lot of these increases are coming from is those types of events that are small and seem innocuous at first, but they continue to go on. And then anything that you look at and say, I can still do this and be really effective and do this at home. That's what we need to do. Those are the choices that we need to make moving forward.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, both of you, for being here with the council, and we certainly will take heed to your advice. One of the things that I would say to our citizens, our council, and those who can and do make decisions is that we shouldn't try to lead through fear, and that we need to be in control as leaders, give good advice, give accurate numbers, and preach caution as you're in and out in the public area. And we shouldn't let our guard down. The numbers are moving, are trending upwards, and we need to get a handle of that. You can do your part, again, by wearing your mask, social distancing, and washing your hands. And that's what we need to continue to do. And we thank you for your efforts and giving us advice. Okay, our next item on the agenda is to conduct a public hearing. It's set 10.1, conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding a zone change from single family 7.5 or single family 7.5 to planned development, single family 7.5 to allow planned residential development to be developed under a single family 6 FS6 requirements on 8.972 acres of Terrell Revised Block 632, Lot 1, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. The property is located on the southwest corner of North State Highway 34 and Rose Street. The property is currently zoned single family 7.5. This is going to be Steve Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to start off by saying I am not Charles Finner. And some of these people behind me are wondering why I'm up here, not Finner, but we'll worry about that later. So I'm filling in for him. I'm going to go over this before you open the public hearing, Mayor, and give you some of the particulars on this proposed ordinance and this PD. The applicant has submitted this planned development, single-family 7.5 on this 8.972 acres. And again, I'll show you in a little more detail where this property is on the map. Property is currently zoned SF 7.5. The application will create a new planned development, SF 7.5. The underlying zoning will remain SF 7.5. However, the ordinance will be an overlay and attach certain conditions onto it, which we'll go over in here in just a minute. Anything that's not addressed in the ordinance, there is a condition that will revert back to the SF 7.5 zoning. A few of the conditions that are in the PD as proposed are the development must contain a trail and a park for the residents maintained by an HOA that's created as part of it. There have been some other negotiated efforts to enhance the quality of the development. The entryways will get some nice entryways into the development will be a part of this. The minimum lot size in the development will be 6,000 square feet. The minimum house living space will be 1,800 square feet. If the plan development is approved, the next step will be a construction plat submitted that conforms to the plan development, and then final plat will be approved after that has been done. Municipal Development Department sent out 41 letters, and we had received 1 letter in favor and 2 in opposition of the PD. The comp plan designates this area as existing traditional neighborhood, and this PD overlay is kind of part of a transitional type of development that would be beneficial to the city. And this meets the general criteria of the traditional neighborhood in our comp plan, the parks and the green space, the compact street grid, and then the network of trails and the green space that's throughout this. Again, that has walkability as a part to it, and then an architectural theme that keeps character and quality and some of the historical aspects of the neighborhood, and then allows for creativity in the facades for the products that they offer for this. Staff recommends approval of the proposed plan development. Illustrates, again, some of the existing traditional neighborhood components in the comp plan. And the Planning and Zoning Commission approved this 8-0 at their meeting. And so again, the ordinance is attached to this. I would like to call your attention to some pages in the back. Before I forget that, I believe the applicant is here. Balil Mashoud is here, and then I believe he has our architect with him, Shanaz Talukder. Is that close? I'm sorry. They're here, and they've been to the P&Z meeting, and they've done a great job putting this together. I'd like to call your attention, if you would, you'll scroll down with me to agenda page 52. Has a red outline of this property. I want to kind of make sure you know exactly where this property is as a starting point. So if you get to agenda page 52, you should have an outline of this property highlighted in red. And if you're not there, let me know. Otherwise, I'd like everybody to be looking at this so you can see exactly where this property is. Okay, not hear anything, so I'm going to show you that this property has a couple of pieces that tie to Rose Street on what I call the north side of it. The east side of the property has frontage along State Highway 34. And then on the south side of the property, it has actually a direct connection. It could be to Sioux Lane or to Jerry Drive. So this has 4 points of ingress and egress to it. So it's got a lot of ways to get in and out here. And so we've worked with them on kind of a plan. If you'll also notice in this map, across the street, Caddy Corner across State Highway 34 and Rose Street is the Terrell Police Headquarters, just to get you orientated to exactly where this is. So it's on the other side of 34 from the police headquarters on the south side of Rose Street. So with that, I'd like to go back and digress back up a few pages. There's a nice color schematic, that concept drawing that Shanaz has put together here, and that's agenda page 44. And that's going to have some greenery on it and some pictures on the side of it. If you'll go to that, that'll help you get orientated as well. And so if you're at that page, it's kind of yellow. The lots are highlighted in yellow. There's 41 lots in this proposed development. It has a couple of park areas. It has a large one that's about 7/10 of an acre on the northwest corner of it there that actually uses one of those street tie-ins to its advantage for that. And then there's a little larger area in the southeast corner of the property that fronts on State Highway 34 that will actually be used for detention as well, but it'll also be able to use as a green area. So if you notice the pictures, they're labeled to certain things in the development. The walking trail, if you can see in here the gray denotes the trails that are in here. If you can see the outline of all that, and it's down all the streets. It goes all the way around the park areas. There's some winding trails through it. There is again, a retention pond with a fountain they're proposing in the southeast corner where that detention area will be, a gazebo in there. And then on the other side, there's some more trail. There's some playground equipment that's a requirement in the PD to go in this park area, as well as some landscaping and seating. And then it has a kind of a model picture of a landscape entry. So with that, I'm going to walk you through some more details in the PD. So this is Exhibit A. I'm showing you all these pictures. They're showing an elevation on agenda page 48. Kind of shows you an elevation of what one of the houses may look like there. Kind of gives you a color rendering of the side or rear and front of the house. And that's all Exhibit A, which is part of the PD and will become an attachment to the ordinance if approved. Then behind that's Exhibit B. And Exhibit B really outlines all the details that are going to be in the plan development, including the lot sizes, the setbacks, the house sizes. At the bottom of the first page there, it talks about open space. It mentions in the very first one about the playground equipment, some landscape and seating. And then on the next page, under item 4, talks about some trees. Then there's also, I didn't mention this a while ago, I apologize, but back on the map, along State Highway 34, they're going to build a sound barrier fence. And that's laid out under item 4C in the PD requirements. There's a tree preservation and mitigation requirements to try to make sure this has a lot of greenery to it. Item 6 at the bottom of that page gives the character elevation so that you have some opportunity for some creativity to this, but also you have some things we're looking for. It mentions porches under that. And then as you get up to the top of the next page, it talks about repetition of floor plans and mirror images. And so it allows you some of that, but it also breaks it up enough where it's not cookie cutter side by side. It talks about the garages. And then it ends up with some plan development amendments and how that works. There's some drainage easement discussion, and it talks about the HOA being formed to manage all the green areas and the common areas and the trails and all that, the park areas, all that's being handled under an HOA. That's a requirement to be on the final plat. So the remaining documents in here are just standard items that we normally have in one of these items for the P&Z to consider. So with that, Mayor, I think I've gone over this in quite enough detail. And I'll be happy to answer any questions from that. And then obviously we have the applicant here if we need to.
Okay. So the question, the planning and zoning unanimous vote 8-0, right?
Yes, sir.
Did the letters come in before or after planning and zoning?
Before.
Before, so they're aware of the two
Yes,
that
sir.
were, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mayor,
Yes.
I can say right now, this is one of the dream projects that I always thought about. It's probably exceeded what I thought about, but this is what we need in Terrell. This is the reason people will come to Terrell when we have projects like this. And I'm 100% for it.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Rogers? This is a public hearing, so we're going to hear comment from our citizens if there's anybody. But right now is the time to question Mr. Rogers.
Steve, so there's a sound barrier on Highway 34 for obvious reasons. But what about on the exterior of the planned development? I don't recall hearing about a fence. Is it just going to kind of, I'm wondering about the transition from the existing neighborhood into the new development. Is it just going to continuously transition? Is there going to be some sort of barrier, whether it's trees or a fence?
Well, I guess in some areas there will be, in some areas there won't. Again, I'll let maybe the applicant can speak more to that as well. But again, the sound barrier is there because it's the proximity to State Highway 34, and those 5 houses are going to back up to it. There is some large landscape areas that are going to be either preserved or planted that are noted on that page that I took you to, as well as the park area will break it up from a lot of the existing houses in the northwest corner. Again, the rest of it's going to be like any other development. There'll be houses backing up to existing. There'll be houses that have been there for 50 years backing up to a brand new house now, and I'm assuming most of these people will want to build privacy fences in here more than likely in the backyards.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just a comment. Hey, you did good, Steve. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
I'm new at this.
Better than McKeska?
I'm not new at this.
Yeah. And then I would say to the applicant, man, this is a great presentation. So hooray for y'all and hooray for us. So.
Does anybody want to hear from the applicant before we move forward?
either one of y'all want to come up. They both want to talk, I
Okay.
know they do.
Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies. How are you? She's the architect, so I'll let her talk, and I'm the spender, so.
Well, we need both of you.
Right, so we're here as a team, and she's done a fabulous job, I would say, of developing the whole plan. We've done another development basically in Greenville, which has been, again, the talk of the town. So what we do is try and enhance the neighborhoods, work with the city to make sure it becomes an example to quote wherever we go. Sound barrier fence we specifically thought of for a reason that I work with the city of Mesquite right now, and they have a very, very standard fence that they have to have on all the property. So that, it's a standard of the city, and I would encourage, Terrell also to consider that, so that we don't have fences that are falling over, leaning over, and kind of, becomes an ugly spot in the end.
Well, thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. And I can't say Charles Whitaker's name without messing it up, so I won't even try it. Attempt yours, but please speak.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Shanas Talukdar, and I'm an architect, so I'm working with him and to give you a project. It's kind of creative. I mean, we work with the city very detailed and kind of to give because they would like to see a really good neighborhood and and to create a model for Terrell. So that's why we are trying so hard to give you a nice design to create a great model for our Terrell.
And you don't know how much the mayor and the council appreciate your efforts in trying to please us as you come forward, and hopefully we can get some more development going for you guys. Thank you. Anyone have any comment?
Yes, quick question. Why you choose Terrell?
Why I chose Terrell? Okay, I'll answer that for you. I normally go to satellite towns. I don't go to expensive cities because it's too difficult to build over there. Just holding the inventory is the hardest thing. You build a $400,000 home and try and sell it for $600,000, it's a lot of money locked in there. You choose these towns, you give affordable housing to people who need the housing really, not as a luxury, but as a means of living. Instead of living in apartments, they have a quality life to begin with. So that's our goal primarily. Give them housing in that range that they can afford, equally like paying rent. If you have a good housing for people, the quality of life, and the city will definitely benefit from that as well. People will want to move in, jobs will move in as well. That's why we choose satellite towns especially. We chose satellite as one of the towns. So if you have more land to develop, let us know.
Yes, well, District 3 would love to have you build it in District 3 too.
Thank you very much.
Not that I don't feel like we can do that too, but the volume is very low.
Thank both of you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. So this is a public hearing, so at this time, we'll open up the public hearing to hear any comments for anyone who would like to speak on item 10.1. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to speak? Hearing none, the mayor will close the public hearing. And our next item on the agenda is discuss and consider ordinance number 2855 on first reading, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing for the creation of a planned development PD 20-05 by changing the zoning on certain real property, more particularly described as all of block 632, Terrell revised, containing 8.972 acres of land and located to the north of East Mikulski Street, to the south of Rose Street, and to the west of State Highway 34 from single family 7.5 to planned development single family 7.5 with development under single family 6, SF6 requirements under the provisions of 31A, Appendix 2, zoning ordinance of the city of Terrell as shown on the map attached here to as Exhibit A and made a part hereof for all purposes under the conditions and regulations specified in Exhibit B, attached here to and made a part hereof for all purposes, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. This is a discuss and consider item. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2855 as presented on first reading.
We have a motion from Mayor Ronnie Velasquez, District 3. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 11.1, discuss and consider a final plat for MJ Locating Service, Lot 1, Block 1, being a replat of the original town of Terrell, Blocks 103, 114, 115, 116, 451, 452, 453, and 454, being 12.484 acres out of the J.Q. surveys. Abstract number 90, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. Mr. Rogers.
Mayor and council, this is a final plat for almost 12 and a half acres. Again, as you read, this comes from the original town of Terrell. This has probably only been used in the history of Terrell as maybe some railroad property and yard, and it's been sitting there vacant with different miscellaneous uses for many years. It's zoned light industrial, and we have been working with the applicant for a period of months here, and I want to recognize them. They're here tonight, Cody and Amber Wampler. They're here tonight, and I appreciate them. They've worked with us on some issues related to this to try to make it match up with our planning that we're doing on Temple Street and with the existing businesses there north of them, the Builder's First Source, the lumber yard. They've done a great job of working with us. It's been difficult at times. I know it's taken longer than everybody wanted, but we've got a great project for both of us, we hope, that's going to get started soon. And so this plat's, before you know, is a final plat. We're moving past the construction plat because this is a fairly simple development. They're going to build an office building, a maintenance shop, and pave around it for their employees. And they've got their building is for MJ Pipeline. They have a contract with Atmos Gas, and they're doing a lot of work in the area right now. And if you've seen their place, they're out there where the Denco used to be, out on US 80 on the west side of town, out there where all the trucks and trailers and mini excavators are at. That's their yard right now. So again, they work with us. There's a thoroughfare that was going to cross this property, a type D collector, and we do not need that because of upon further review and with the neighborhood we have to the east, we don't feel like that's probably the best long-term need for the city. Again, they work with us on lining up their driveways with the lumberyard to help give trucks a place to turn around and deter them from entering the residential area, which is immediately adjacent to this light industrial zoning. And we've also got a small piece of right-of-way on the Mayfield side of their property that they're donating with this plat. So with that, we're recommending that you approve the final plat for MJ Locating Services and amend the thoroughfare plan as a part of this. I will note the Planning and Zoning Commission approved this on a 7-to-1 vote at their last meeting. And if you'll allow me to scroll down a few pages from there, please, if you don't mind. I'll go back to the red map because that's the easiest thing to see for me, and I don't know about you, but I think it's on agenda page 61. Mm-hmm. There's a red map in there, and it helps you to see the property outline there. Immediately to the left or to the west of this property is the El Dorado Chemical fertilizer plant, and then north across the street from Temple is the Builder's First Source lumber yard. And so again, they work with us real well to line things up and make everything work right with drainage and utilities and everything else. We appreciate their hard work and their patience in working with us. And again, this is light industrial zone property that butts up to residential zoning, which is as it was on the lumber yard, which is tough to make those things fit together. So with that, I'll answer any questions,
So,
Mayor.
Mayor, I'll just throw in that, as Steve mentioned, we have done a lot of work on Temple to try to get a good plan for Temple. This plat allows us to do the battle plan that we've been working on for Temple Street in front of, or as the entryway. That plan provides for a much better entryway into the Stallings neighborhood. And this particular applicant did work with us to make sure that our battle plan for Temple Street would be accommodated with their development. So that was a very important part of this, and I appreciate Steve making sure that that happened during this process.
You know, my only concern is when people enter in on Temple Street, it's a piping company that's going next door, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
From across from the lumberyard?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I'm concerned how that company is going to look. I mean, is the pipes going to be all out in the front or the back? I mean, what is the facade going to look like? Is it going to be a nice, neat entryway when people enter in, like residents or people visiting? That's just my main concern.
So these are good comments, because when the lumberyard came in, we took a lot of time to say, hey, your facade needed to look like this, your screening needed to look like this. While this might be a good project, we don't see any of that as it's presented today.
Well, there's not a PD on this, there's not requirements for that, but they will have to meet all of our requirements for that zoning of light industrial. So there'll be masonry on the facade in the front. You know, again, they're backing up, their eastern border is gonna be on a roadway, which was different than Builder's First Source. So there's gonna be a natural buffer and separation between there and the adjacent neighborhood, where Builder's First Source built a screening wall because they were backing right up to houses along that. And, you know, again, we could have had other undesirable things going light industrial that we still couldn't because of the zoning there. So this is a good use to put on light industrial, in staff's opinion, as opposed to what other things could go in that zoning, manufacturing.
Yeah, I guess I would say that, remember, your business model here isn't that they're a pipe company per se. Remember that the MJ operation is to go out into the field, so they're more of a hub that then leaves the shop. And I think that's going to make for a very different kind of an operation. Rather than having the activity be on the site, they're going out and servicing pipelines out in the field. And since that's their...
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your thought.
Since that's their primary business model, that is why it's a little bit bothersome than some of the other things that might have gone in light industrial next to that location.
We're attracted when people come in.
Yeah.
Say someone who wants to, I mean, there's some nice homes that are being developed on Dixon. I think there's probably like 3 homes. It's probably $200,000, so we have a little model there in terms of how Stallings could look.
Right.
And if we have, I know other people that want to develop in there.
Yeah.
And if they come there, I just don't want that to be a distraction of deterrence and all this entryway.
No, I agree with you. I think that's all well said. Yeah.
The fear, I think, what I'm hearing is that there might be an eyesore as you enter into the Stallings addition, right?
Well, I guess what safety guards do we have to prevent that from happening?
So, yeah, go ahead. So, we've met the applicant, we know the applicant, they're here, right? But my understanding is from staff, if they were going to recommend to us that we should move forward with it, they've got a good feel of who the applicants are and that they're going to be good stewards and good partners for the city moving forward. I can imagine that we...
Yeah, maybe I should say it this way. Remember that we actually have some pretty good standards in light industrial. Builders First Source didn't exceed standards. They rearranged their site to accommodate being next to what they were next to. So whenever we saw the first round of proposals from Builders First Source, the primary issue there was to make sure that they rearranged the site so that the lighting and the active use of the site was I'll say naturally buffered by the storm drainage that's on the eastern side of Builders First Source, and that the storage buildings, the T sheds, if you will, had their solid wall facing the neighborhood, which was designed to be kind of the buffer area for that. So there's been a lot of conversations on the MJ location. And again, our feeling was that if we could get an accommodation of what we wanted to do on Temple Street, which they've accommodated that, then it's Temple Street now that's going to be our major issue. We need Temple, and as you guys know, Builders First Source is a generator of tax revenue. We'll collect those sales tax revenues and take those sales tax revenues, and then we're collecting that in a fund, the Stallings Improvement Fund, to be able to do our Temple Street improvement, which is a concrete street. And I apologize that we didn't bring the graphic of this, but this is kind of what it boils down to, in that, you know, you're basically designing that street so 18-wheelers can access a driveway on the MJ side, a driveway on the Builders First Source side, and then after that last driveway to the east of both of those industrial properties, we really changed the design of the street so that it looks like, even to our 18-wheeler drivers who are often challenged with driving skill, okay, and challenged with good decision-making, it very obviously looks like the transition into a residential neighborhood. We have a green median, trees, and a landscaped median that enters the design of Temple Street right after that last driveway. So I think when you see that between Reynolds Mayfield and the last industrial driveway on Temple Street, that's the thing that needs to happen to be the difference maker here. I think what you'll see in their building is that they're going to be required to meet all of the same zoning standards that Builders First Source did. So there's going to be a lot of similarities between their front appearance and the Builders First Source front appearance.
Mike,
So, Steve-
I'm sorry.
No, I'll let you go ahead and then I'll wrap it up.
So my issue is not with the applicants, it's what's being presented. Why is there not a construction plat for us to look at?
This is the construction plat.
Well,
I'm
it's
sorry.
It's a final plat. I mean, there's already sewer on the property. The water line's already there. They're gonna make a couple of taps across the street.
But we are placing buildings on
They're
this,
taking
right?
care of drainage on their own site, so you don't normally get to see anything else other than a construction plat other than those things there, so I'm not sure what you're missing.
I think he's talking about an elevation of what it's going to look like.
I think you're thinking about the building permit phase. And so I guess maybe I would say that part of the difference here is that, remember, Builders First Source had an incentive. And so there was a lot of discussion with the EDC. There was an EDC incentive. As part of creating the EDC incentive, we were making sure that we got that project to come to town. And so due to the sales tax generation of that project, we were able to have more graphics to show you earlier in the process. But those are not requirements of the plat step. Those are requirements of the building permit. So we're not voting today on a zoning standard associated with a project.
There's no land issue involved. It's zone light industrial.
And they're
And
gonna
so
meet
it's
the
conforming,
requirements of light industrial.
it's conforming to
Yes, sir.
the land use. So that's not an issue. What we're looking at now is the plat for them locating their service there, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The replat.
That's correct.
Of
It's
the
a
property.
plat.
So all we're doing is saying, yeah, you're in conforming, and we agree to the replat.
Yeah, from a step-by-step development function, they are meeting plat requirements. So P&Z processed a approval of a plat because they met plat requirements. When they come in for building permit, the question will be, do they meet the zoning requirements of the building permit? They're working within their existing rights on the property.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
So to make sure I'm hearing this correctly, it's not a construction plat. It's just it's a final plat to what's already existing. It's zoned industrial at this
Light
time.
industrial.
Light industrial at this time. And did I hear you, Steve, say that the applicants already know what they're planning to build?
Yeah, I mean, we've already gone over some conceptual ideas that, and Mr. Fenner's been working on that with them for the last few months, on what they're required to do in light industrial.
And what is it that they're planning to do on light industrial then?
Again, I don't have all the details in front of me, but again, that's something Mr. Fenner's gonna need to answer. I don't have it with me tonight, so.
Is this an appropriate time for, do we have to open up the do we have to open up the hearing
No,
to have the
this is a discuss and consider item. But
applicant
again,
respond?
yeah, no, this is a discuss and consider item.
Yeah,
It has already been approved by planning and zoning. If we take no action, then it's gonna go, right? We have to take action on it tonight.
So I
This
guess-
falls under the heading, guys, of the ministerial function. You are not approving it as in saying, we think that this is good. You are approving it as in, did it meet the technical requirements for a final plat? Whenever we bring you an economic development deal, then we get much more into the question of, well, where did they put the building? How did they shape the building? Where did this go? Where did that go? All of those different sorts of things. In this particular case, they're working within their property rights. They didn't ask for an incentive, and they did not need to rezone the property. So when they're working within their legal purview, then we are not processing it as well, this is the highest and best use of this property. We're processing it as the landowner on this particular piece of property is working within their existing property rights. They're not asking for new rights from you. They're working within existing rights. We're raising our hand as staff and saying, while they were doing that, we mentioned to them the things that we needed to have happen on Temple Street, and they indicated a willingness to accommodate that. And they've accommodated that by providing some right-of-way on that southern portion of Mayfield for that purpose. And so I realize that it's often that we are, I'll say, much more in the business of the applicant because we are in a partnership agreement style with them, but we're not in a partnership agreement here where we're doing an economic development agreement or something like that. And so therefore, this falls under more of a ministerial function.
So I'd say, hey, that's good clarity, right? That answered my questions. And I guess us as council, to speak to the councilwoman, we just have to hope that our standards for light industrial screening on the setbacks of the property are appropriate, because I assume that this is not a negotiation, and that's
Right.
where I got
That's
lost.
correct.
you're right.
Yes, sir. You're right. Yes, sir.
Steve, I noticed one commissioner voted against. What was the reason for voting against?
Well, I can answer that because I was sitting by him and we discussed it after the meeting. And he was, I guess the best way I can phrase it, he's voting as conscious. Again, this is a tough case because you're approving, as a commissioner, light industrial next to potentially residential zoning. And even though none of us set that up that way, we're having to deal with that. And he just didn't feel like he could stand in front of a residential customer, tell them he voted for it. And that's basically what he told me. The other 7 commissioners kind of discussed that. They heard him. He made his feelings known publicly during the discussion, and they voted 7-1. So the vast majority obviously respected what he had to say. But again, that was his general feeling. And I talked to him about it a little bit and commended him for voting his convictions. However, it's again, it's something that's hard to do because we didn't create it, but we're having to manage
Right.
through it. And it's just like we did with Builders First Source. If they didn't want an EDC incentive and we were able to open the door to negotiate some things and that to our advantage and to the neighborhood's advantage, then it might not have come out as well as it did, in our opinion.
Right, and certainly, I don't think it's, at least from District 3, there's nothing against, the applicant and
That's right.
going through the process. This is the process that exists because that's the way it's zoned, industrial distribution, and it's not to any of our fault that it's next to a neighborhood at this time.
That's correct.
Not this council or mayor's fault.
I will-
For Temple Street, I want the applicant to know, I really appreciate them working with us to have Temple Street and Mayfield Street there. To really be a partnership between the applicant and us and making sure that we do Temple Street the right way. I guess this is a question for legal, for Mary Gell. During the discuss and consider portion of this, is this not an appropriate time frame to ask a question of the applicant to find out what's proposed in this area?
Well, it's not a negotiation.
No.
Now, I would toss it back to, not necessarily you, but to Mr. Sims to say, man, I'm sorry, we're in the muddy muck here of business, and we're not always that way. But if we wanted to.
First off, I'm going to say thank you to council because I think it's very important for our MG Pipeline folks here in the audience to hear your point of view.
Sure.
It is very important for folks to realize on the private business side of this that even though they've got property rights and they're working within their property rights, they're next door to a very important area. They're next door to a great neighborhood, and we want to protect that neighborhood. They've heard that from staff during this process, and I think it's important for them to hear that from you guys. In terms of the process question, it's really did they meet the requirements for Plat? And that's really the only question in front of you at this time.
So I think the answer is yes, but for today or going forward, could the city of Terrell put us in a better position and negotiated maybe differently with this landowner to ensure that we had proper screening, which I guess would have to come in the way of an incentive to a neighborhood? I'm saying, hey, did we do our part to protect the neighborhood? I'm not worried about the applicant. I just want to know if we did our part. And that answer could be yes, we're just following the process, but could we have done more? I don't know.
I think what I'm hearing from the council is moving forward on these light industrial areas that back up to residential. We want to make sure that we make every effort to secure the neighborhood as best we can with what the product's going to look like when it's built, right? That's what I'm hearing, but that's not what we're talking about tonight, so we really need to stay focused on the replat and what is at issue. And moving forward, we're going to need to do a better job or do some clarity with each one of our district representatives as to what's happening in that district. So, thank you, Steve.
Whose district's that?
Mayor Ronnie. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the presentation. Again, it was a 7-1 P&Z. We're ready for a motion. Someone going to make a motion? If not, I'll make the motion that we approve the final plat for MJ Locating Services. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye.
Nay.
Hold on. Ayes, 4. And anyone against?
I'm going to say nay also.
Wait a minute. I mean, I thought, we've discussed this for an hour and a half,
So there's a motion to approve
we're
the
building stuff
final.
in my district that doesn't come close to 1,800 square feet.
So we got a motion, let's be clear, we got a motion to approve the final plat for MJ Locating Service. I had a second from Charles Whitaker. Now, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So the motion doesn't carry. Okay, Phil. So,
My message to the city is, we've got to make sure that we transition smoothly. We just
I don't think this was about the transition. This was just a final plat. We've already, hey, this thing's settled. We're over with this one. Item number 11.2 is discuss and consider a construction plat for Wyatt Cox Estates, 8 residential lots, being 6.430 acres out of the Lewis H. Adams Survey, abstract number 7, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The applicant is here with us this evening, Mr. Cox. He submitted a construction plan for 8 lots. And they are 4 lots that front on Griffith that are about a half an acre, and there are 4 lots that front on Lover's Lane that are a little over an acre. The property zone SF 7.5. The applicants work with us to meet the requirements for drainage, and they're installing some extending sanitary sewer to serve the property. Planning and Zoning Commission approved the White Cox Estates 8-0. In your package, you have the construction plat document, as well as some other documents, including the map that's red, if that helps you, that shows Griffith and Lovers. It's right on the corner. Backs up to Haynes Circle, that development, and the golf course as well on one side. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions on the construction plat for White Cox Estates?
It looks like some good sizable lots, so I think that's something to be proud of.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is also, thank you, Steve, this is a discuss and consider the construction plat for White Cox Estates, 8 residential lots. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the construction plat for White Cox Estates, 8 residential lots within the District 5 of Terrell.
We have a motion from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor, District 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 11.3 is discuss and consider a construction plat for Crossroads at Terrell, Phase 3A, 1 commercial lot and right-of-way being 15.514 acres out of the J.C. Hale Survey, abstract number 202, City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. Mr. Rogers.
Mayor and Council, the applicant submitted a construction plat for 1 large lot and the right-of-way for the extension of American Way. And this is going to be for a car dealership. It's going to be built on the lot. An SUP was approved for this property on August 25th of this year. The SUP ordinance 2841 is attached to this as well. So if you'll look at the map that is on agenda page 70, that kind of gives you all the phases out there. I appreciate Rick Martindale's here from Adams Engineering. They've been the engineer of record out here on everything related to Crossroads. We appreciate them helping put together this map. If you see the map, it's got some green, which was phase 1A of Crossroads, and then 1B was done in a couple of parts. Part 1 did some of the major infrastructure on the movie theater, film alley, and some of the out parcels along Spur 557, and then the blue area was Part 2, and that was Realty Link, and they did the fill-in of all the retail strip out there, including Hobby Lobby and Academy and that portion. And then we moved to 2A, which is the Ventures apartment complex, which is under construction in the back, and some additional detention for the site. And then 2B was an extension of American Way and tying into naming Sage Hill Parkway, formerly County Road 305. Now we bring to you tonight, construction plat for Phase 3A, which fronts along Spur 557. It'll back up to Crossroads Parkway. It'll include an extension of American Way and a short portion of public access that will serve a car dealership, again, that you've already approved through SUP back in August. So with that, this includes drainage, extension of water and sewer, and the roadway as well on American Way. And with that, Mayor, I'll answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Rogers? No? Thank you, Steve. This is a discuss and consider. Is there a motion?
Mayor, make a motion that we approve CP 20-07, the construction plat for Crossroads at Terrell Phase 3, A1 commercial lot and row being 15 acres or 15.514 acres.
Have a motion from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor, District 5. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Item number 11.4, discuss and consider a final plat for Oak Valley Phase 2 consisting of 86 lots being 131.008 acres out of the Phillip Walker Survey. Abstract number 569, City of Oak Ridge, City of Terrell ETJ, Kaufman County, Texas. Mr. Rogers.
Okay, if you'll remember, we entered into an agreement with Oak Ridge to assist them with some miscellaneous items, and part of it was to help them plat this property. It was partially in their ETJ and partially in ours and partially in the county. The first phase was approved last year. It was 23 lots that front on Abner Road. The applicant is here, Bart Carroll, he's over in the corner. Bart's done some other ETJ developments recently around us. We appreciate the work he's doing to get these things moving. So this is 86 residential lots out of 131 acres. Again, it's located in the city of Oak Ridge. The construction plat was approved in September of last year on Phase 1, and then there was a final plat. And then again, we've got our agreement's been met. We had some park dedication that was needed as a part of this. The lots are all going to be served by on-site septic. The water's going to be provided by the North Kaufman Water Supply Corporation. If you look at the map on agenda page, sorry, I'll try to get it pulled up here. It's hard to, 87. There's a large black and white map there, and in the middle of it, it has some gray area, and that's where the floodplain is. The white area is the floodplain in the middle of that where water flows through it. On the outside, the gray areas are a couple of park areas that are being dedicated for the development there that'll be managed however they choose to do it. On the left side of the map, you see a road that kind of curves into the development and then ties into State Highway 34 at the bottom left corner of the map. That is the relocated County Road 138 or Wilson Road. And so they're dedicating a 120-foot right-of-way, and they're building half of that road right now as a part of this phase. And they're building their interior roads that are on here. And then on the right-hand side of the page, it's kind of lightly shaded, is the remaining phase or phases of this, which is about 75 acres and probably 50-something houses left in the remaining phase that'll come to you at some point in the future. And with that, Mayor, I'll answer any questions related.
First phase is 79 acres.
First phase was 23 lots that all faced on Abner Road. And Phase 2 is 86 lots, which is what this is for, on 131 acres.
Okay, thank you.
And then they'll have another about 75 acres left in the last phase, or it may be two phases that will be about 50-something houses, I believe.
Sorry, man.
No, you're fine. So, thank you, Steve. Great presentation. Does anybody have any comments, questions? This is a discuss and consider. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the FP 20-03 final plat of Oak Valley Phase.
We have a motion from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor District 5. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Council, at this time, the mayor would like to suspend the rules and move into executive session. If there's no objection, hearing none, we're going to move into executive session, adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.072, deliberations regarding.
It just takes a moment.
All of my devices are dead. I've been just.
Hold on, Boudreaux.
Royce.
Huh?
I'm making too much.
What's your name?
Thirsty.
Sure. Yeah.
Tim, you need to come into the executive.
Oh, that's beautiful. You can
Thank you,
spell
Ryan.
it. Terrell Exchange. Donna, we on?
Yes, we're
live.
We're ready?
We're live.
At this time, we're going to reconvene into regular session and consider action, if any, on items discussed in executive session. Is there a motion?
Mayor, make a motion that we approve the mayor to send a letter of accommodation to the Honorable Judge Mike Smith. The letter is dated November 17th, 2020. Legal, does that suffice?
We have a motion. Is there a second? Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will carry. Any other motions?
Mayor, make a motion that we approve the addendum to the employment contract of City Manager Mike Sims as presented.
We have a motion from Tim Royce, Deputy Mayor for District 5. Is there a second?
I second.
Have a second from Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Now, we did have one more item on the agenda, I think,
Yes,
right?
we do.
Okay. We are now at
My birthday's Friday, y'all gonna get me?
item number 12, discuss and consider resolution calling public hearing for a voluntary annexation request.
So, Mayor and Council, there are 3 annexations that we want to take a look at. They're all in your packet. Forgive me, I don't have the agenda item page numbers in front of me. Dawn, maybe you could look that up. So, as you know, our normal process for annexation is to be very upfront with the public about what we're doing and actually pass a resolution at City Council prior to putting it into the newspaper. So on agenda item page 96 is the resolution. The resolution has 3 pieces of property. They're all ones that we've talked about in executive session. The first one is the gun range, which is about 38 acres of land that we own just south of Interstate 20 on FM 2578. So that's city-owned land. That houses the former Bachelor Creek wastewater treatment plant, if a little-known fact that we used to have a wastewater treatment plant out there. And then we have also the, we also have on the docket out there our gun range. So the police use that on a regular basis. There's no conflict with us annexing that because that gun range operations fall within our municipal purview, so it's not like a zoning conflict or anything. We can annex our own property there. So that's the first one. The second one is the portions of the lake that we own. That is the new city of Terrell Lake. As you know, probably a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, we actually extended our extraterritorial jurisdiction to include the lake. property that we owned. This is the next step that we always anticipated taking after that. We purchased the Jacks property famously. That's the 50 acres that connect the lake to the railroad tracks. So we can now make an annexation of the Jacks property that we own directly adjacent to the lake and the lake property itself. It also includes the recently purchased Harrison Ham track that we have on the east side of the lake. As you look at that map, you can see that we've actually concentrated on annexing what I'm going to call the western 2/3 of the lake. Part of that is to avoid being directly adjacent to the county road, because we don't want to take responsibility to start taking care of the county road. So we don't want our annexation to come all the way up to that point. And then also, we want to provide future city councils flexibility on how much, if any, of the lakefront property on the east side of New City of Terrell Lake to annex. So this is about 844 acres that we're recommending for annexation. Again, all of that owned by the city. The third one is the property we just talked about in executive session, so that's my house. And again, we've drawn that to not include the entire parcel. We include the back side of my lot. It's a 1.2 acre parcel overall, and we're only annexing 1 acre of it, again, to avoid any need to take care of Zach Drive. So that's the 3 properties. By passing the resolution, you're saying put it in the newspaper, you're saying hold a public hearing, you're saying inform all the necessary folks that you've got to inform when you proceed to go through the annexation process, and you're saying prepare any mapping that might be necessary. We do have a little mapping to do at the gun range, and we'll be working on that. The public hearing is scheduled for December the 8th. That would be the first reading on annexation ordinance. The second reading on annexation ordinance would not be able to happen until the January 5th City Council meeting, given your December City Council meeting schedule. So that's an overview of what's in that resolution.
Great, thank you, Mike. Does anybody have any questions?
Discussion is, Mike, have you talked to your neighbors?
I am waiting for this to talk to my neighbors. I have several neighbors who are anxious to come request that you say yes to this.
Okay, that's it. I was just wondering if there were any neighbors that would come say the opposite of that.
Well,
you may not.
May it never be that I would guarantee actions of neighbors, but I don't believe that this will be a subject of opposition, and I will tell you that I appreciate the consideration.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Hearing none, Mayor will entertain a motion on Resolution 1003.
Mayor, make a motion that we approve resolution 1003.
Have a motion, Grady Simpson. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there any further discussion? I see a lot of yawning. All those in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to carry will carry, and we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
No, I don't want to leave now.
Were we supposed